Yay! Hello, my loves. It is Sonia G. This is a Moon Babes Monday Night Live. We are doing it on a Monday. It's short after sunset. You can still see a little bit of the sunset. Amazing as you guys join in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are talking about a very interesting topic of conversation tonight that I feel very strongly about. So our title is Magick versus Magick. Magick with a K versus the word magic. We're going to talk about ancient power grids that are coming online and reactivating and what it means for us. We're also going to talk about the old structures collapsing, how this is reflecting for us, and our DNA coding. So this is loaded. This is powerful. I have a lot to say. Go grab yourself some tea, so your favorite drink, whatever. Let's do this. Let's hang out because this is important stuff. And it's all surfacing. And those of you that follow me on Instagram and watch my stories every day, you know today was like a long, powerful day. We even had a fire in our building and an evacuation. So there's a lot of things that are happening. Remember that reality is constantly testing us. And this is not a time to give up or fall short on the tests that come in your world. This is a time to show up on a whole entire new level without letting the things actually hook on you. Your reality will test you. Our reality tests us. Whenever we come close to a new threshold, whenever the energy is shifting from one bandwidth to another, okay? And this is one of those moments. And for a lot of people, it's hitting right now. There are things, health things, money things, challenges, just fucking trigger central is happening right now. All sorts of things happen. And it's how are you going to show up? Are you going to show up in your divine self, in the courage, in all the layers of who you are? Or are you going to face them in your human experience and have a reaction instead of a divine action? Right? Different things that are happening. So let's talk about this. Alexia's saying I'm getting in the bath for this. I love it. I'll hang out with you. Have a great bubble bath, love. Amazing. Okay, so let's talk about this because there's a lot of words. First of all, let's define words. We're talking about magic with a K versus magic with a C, okay? And why is there a distinction and what the hell's going on? So what are words? Words are vibration. They're sound currencies. When we use mantras, for example, a lot of you know this from Kundalini. When we use mantras are high vibrational sound current. They broadcast sound in such a way that it produces a high frequency and a high vibration, okay? Certain words, like when people say mean stuff, have a very low frequency and a low vibration. There's certain things that make us feel, things that make us feel here, right? So sound and words and letters carry a frequency, a vibration. That vibration is felt because it's spoken, right? So this is the sound. This is energy in motion as sound. The energy form in the physical becomes our words, right? And so the alphabet, the phonetic alphabet is important. Every letter carries a frequency. If you end up studying numerology, letters and numbers are assigned, there's a whole thing, okay? But I digress. The letters K, the letters Y, the letters W, and I can't remember which other one, but there's a certain amount of letters that were added later on to the alphabet. They were not originally a part of the alphabet. And they were definitely not part of the alphabet, from the original alphabets that were utilized to create things on this planet. There's a lot of extra stuff that got in there, okay? And one of these things and two of the letters that get very used in distortions are the letters X, three. The letters X, the letters K, and the letters Y. So when you see words that you've always known, okay, in the English language, and all of a sudden you see them popping up with a Y or with a K, okay, or with an X on them, this is a distortion. It's a distortion of a word that carries a frequency. The biggest example of this, okay, we see it in commercialized America, okay? And I'm giving you an example, like in other languages, there's other things, but since obviously we're speaking English, I'm giving you examples of this. In the United States, there's a big holiday that everybody generally agrees on. It's a more commercialized holiday, okay? But it started, and it's like a whole thing on the calendar for most, a lot of different countries around the world, and I'm talking about Christmas. Christmas comes from the word Christ. Christ is the prophet, right? The being that came and incarnated on this planet several times through time, but this one time it got recorded in the Bible, and it was so powerful. And the energy that he grounded on this planet and everything that happened around his ascension within his physical body, right? Like defying all of the layers of reality on this planet was so impactful to this planet that was considered the year 0, and it reset time. This one event, the whole world goes around. So important, okay? Guess what they did? So fast forward. I'm not going to get into this. If you want to know how the whole story of Christ and Christmas and everything, you can Google it. I have a podcast on it, a couple of them, where I explain all of it. But can you imagine though? Like, let's say this, can you imagine, right? Like carrying frequencies that are so high in a world that is so dense, because that's the job we're doing now. We are doing the same job, except it's taking so many of us to raise the frequency and to carry these higher frequencies, right? So he did an amazing job. Then all of a sudden we have this holiday that's called Christmas to remember this whole thing, right? And to gift each other, to this whole tradition that started, and it's, let's not talk about the distortion and in the commercialism, but the words got, how many times do you see Christmas spelled X-Mass? That's not it. The X took out the whole thing. The X took out the whole word, which is Christ, which has to do with the Christed timelines, which has to do with the Christ consciousness, which has to do with all of this frequency and energy that was actually landed and deposited on the planet when the time would come that those of us would know how to restore these grids, which we're doing right now, right? Like the high frequency grids. That was taken out as the X, okay? Similar thing, because then now it's distorted and it got commercialized and it's this different holiday. Nobody fucking remembers what it's about, because it's all about, the parades and the gifts and the Christmas tree and the activity. Like, cancel. More people are remembering really what it's about. Clearly, I feel strongly about this. Another one that got shafted as a word is the word magic. This happened in the spiritual community, sadly. So Magick, Magic, is the word. But then they added a K. They added extra vibes. They added a distortion. But people thought it's so cool because it's like, oh, that sounds like a cooler word. That sounds like, right, when you say it and when you read it, written like that, doesn't it feel edgier? It feels like it's added something. It feels like maybe it's not so clean. Like maybe there's like something in there, right? This whole magic thing comes from dark magic. It comes from back in the 1800s. Go and look at when this letter was, not even 1800. It was very much in use in the 1800s. And that's, I believe, when the letter K got added onto the alphabet. But don't quote me on that, because I'm not sure that I'm correct. But a lot of this kind of magic with the K, right, was utilized in the 1800s, in the 1700s, in the 1600s, in the Middle Ages. Like in the Dark Ages, they used a lot of this kind of magic with the K kind of energy. And this is the energy that, and a lot of people on the internet, I don't think that they mean it the way that, I don't think that they mean to use the darker energies. So the magic with the K, I don't believe that they understand the difference. I just think they think it's a cool word and they want to use it, and they want to use it in the way that, they decide it's going to mean whatever they say. But a lot of times when you start to gain understanding and you start to gain a higher consciousness, you're actually very aware that certain things have meaning embedded in them. It's like a computer program, right? Like there's viruses. If the computer program is going to do a job, but if there's a virus in it, you're going to use the program with the virus in it. Does that make sense? Like sometimes there's things inside of things, and we don't, we don't pay attention because we don't want to know, because we want to just be like, oh, but I'm using this word this way and it means this, right? And there's like this weird association with things. Like think about the misuse of the word sick in the English language in the United States. So many times in the slang, right, you hear people, trendy people that talk about things and they're like, oh man, that's so sick. And it means so cool. But sick is a word that conveys and holds a different meaning. It means not well. It means something that is in dis-ease, right? So all of a sudden, we're talking about really cool things and associating a different meaning. There's all sorts of weird stuff, okay? And I'm just saying this in general to kind of open your mind to this conversation that words have different meanings. And for some of them, it's fine. But a lot of people, okay, if you've ever read the 4 Agreements, okay, great book. If you don't know what it is, Google it, get it on Audible, get it on Amazon, whatever. The 4 Agreements, okay, you will understand the power of your words. Our words create our reality. When we become more and more conscious, right? In the beginning was the word. When we become more and more conscious, we understand that words can create or they can destroy. You damn well know, use of this word, just like I know, that when you're arguing with someone, how many times have you put somebody down with your words, right? How many times have you been able to hurt someone or say something that you knew wasn't nice with your words? Because words have the power to do that. Or how many times have you been able to help somebody move through a situation with your words because your words were encouraging, they were healing, they were offering a vibration that helped somebody raise in frequency, right? Words are very powerful. When you start to understand, there's actually there's something that I say very often, and you probably hear me saying this here, when I say something and then I'm like, cancel. This is actually a practice that comes from Hawaii, from the Hawaiian culture, the Hawaiian tribes, because they understand so much the power in their words that when they say something that they didn't mean, right, they actually say cancel, because they don't want that to go on record for reality. They don't want that to actually move forward. So they cancel it out like backspace. And I love it because it's like, if you learned how powerful every word is, and the more we become sovereign and responsible for ourselves, then we want to choose our words wisely because we understand that we are creators. So we don't give energy like words or like, attention to things that we don't want to grow, right? This is next level. This is like when we're getting into these higher phases of ascension. We are responsible for everything, right? Like we are responsible for everything that we output in reality. So when we say something that's bad, like sometimes you say something and then it's like, ooh, I wish I wouldn't have said that. Cancel that, right? Like we are so responsible for the things that we emit. It's kind of like sustainability and frequency. It's the same thing. Like when we, throw away garbage in a way that like doesn't make sense, when we produce more waste, and then it's all the same. It's like we are fully responsible for what we put in our body, for what we intake, and for what we put out. So for the things we listen to, the words we intake, right? That's why it's like filter the things that you're paying attention to in your reality. The songs, the movies, the people, that's all intake, as much as, social media and books and, whatever TV programming you're taking in. It's like inbound words, and like, what are you saying? What are you putting out? Right? And so then you find yourself having less conversations, but more important conversations, because every time you say something, you say it with meaning, you say it with more power. Now we're getting a hold of our power. Now we're starting to really create. This is one of the things that will get you manifesting so much faster. Those of you that are like really focused on, manifesting things. Alignment is thinking, feeling, speaking, and grounding all into alignment, into the same thing. When you're so in alignment, then you can't help but manifest, right? But very often we want one thing, but then we speak in a way that doesn't support it, and then our thoughts say something else, because we, have distortion fields, and we're just not used to utilizing all of our power. So we fight ourselves in a lot of things. We end up self-sabotaging, right? So this is a bigger conversations, but you're starting to understand the power of your words. So if you spoke the true feelings and the true intentions of the things that you mean, right? Not just to be cool, not just to say the things that people want to hear, right? But to say things that are meaningful and things that you actually feel, life becomes a lot more alive. Life becomes a lot more like, ooh, right? I'm in there and I mean it. Sometimes it can be a little more quiet because you don't say things that you don't mean, right? But it's such a powerful practice to keep your word. You say something, do it, right? You set a goal, go for it. Like all of these kinds of things. So this is the power of words. So what happens, okay? Now that you understand this, like words are vibrational currents, okay? Now, if you go back in time, look at all the things that we're dealing in the world that are unraveling in the world today. Think about the words of, like the wise words of the grandmothers, like the ways, the traditions, the family. Some traditions are good, some less good, right? But think about the things that have been passed on together with the genes. What did you inherit, right? When we think about inheritances, we often think about monetary inheritances, right? If there's any of that, oh, I inherited so-and-so. Or, oh yeah, I inherited what? Diabetes, Alzheimer's, like all the cancel, right? Like we are used to saying that we inherit these diseases, but these are things that we now understand that we are changing, right? We don't have to inherit the dis-ease from our family lines, but those things are clearly running in our blood, right? There's coding in our blood. When you're born, you're on this planet and you go to the doctor and you get your like blood work done. They're like, oh, your values are this and this and this, right? It runs in the family. Like there's things, right? There's coding in the blood. Obviously, we can't read everything that's going on in our blood, but in our blood, there's so much coding, right? And our DNA, which is where the patterns of, our self-expression actually like unlock and express. So our DNA and the chromosomes and all of that, you guys know that they are the expression of our spirit in form that makes us look the way that we are, right? It's the genetics, so the codes inside of us that get activated. They activate blue eyes, or brown hair, or black hair, or blonde hair, or whatever, or genetics that are skinny, genetics that are big bone, whatever. Like more, we have all of these things. They are codes inside of our blood. Okay, and those are like automatic. We come in, the spirit activates those genes, and most people don't ever think about that stuff, right? So now we're coming up on these timelines, okay? Everybody is opening up in consciousness. We're anchoring more light. There's higher frequency that is landing on the planet. We have been doing these DNA activations, right? We're getting around people that are like, ooh, codes of higher consciousness, codes of abundance, like, the codes of confidence, like all these different codes, like higher self coding, like codes of liberation. Like we've had so many codes that have come in, we've activated within ourselves, we've exchanged with one another's, right? We're in a different level. Like we are not the same people. Think back even to the 80s, or, if you were around, we're fully different people. We are fully and completely different people. The things that we know now, we didn't know then. right? The things that we can talk about, the things that we can express, the level of information that goes around. But mostly, we understand ascension, and we understand that we are transmuting dark energy, well, heavy energy. It's not necessarily dark. We are transmuting stuff that is inside of the body. That's why right now the trend is like all the psychosomatic stuff, like the somatic work. That's stuff that's in the body that has to leave because we cannot hold on to this much density in the body. Usually we think of like traumas or, like belief systems or mindset practices, like these kinds of things, like wounds, like the wounds of the father, the mother, like all of these things, childhood wounds. We're responsible for those. We understand, there's hooks, there's cords, like we got to take all this stuff out. We got to clear our space. So doing all of this, taking charge of who we are, being the sovereign beings that we are, constantly activating new codes, right? We're opening up to new frequencies of abundance. We're opening up to understanding all these other multidimensional realities, that exist. We're getting these like amazing superpowers, psychic senses, like all this stuff. It's like, whoa, right? It's like better than a sci-fi. So what's happening now is we hit a threshold where we've actually done enough work that as the systems of the world, the dark side collapses, right? Guess what else is untangling inside of our physical body? The old codes of the magic, the dark magic that runs inside of us has to dismantle. So the time has come to face this stuff, and it's like, oh shit, because it's like, it's kind of a big deal. But just as, the mirror effect of things, just as it makes sense, right? If you understand how the world works and you understand how this holographic reality and multidimensionality works and everything, it's like as the systems of corruption crumble, then these spells and vows and codes inside of us that were made in an artificial way, they also have to fall apart. They have to crumble. They have to clear. Except most of us don't have the knowledge, right? Like, it's not like in school, they're like, here, the Harry Potter book. This is how you clear out and cast out, all the demons and the curses. Like, we didn't get that stuff, right? They didn't teach us any of this. So it's like, And for me, it was a next level experience even because I had understood how to do this before, but it was like something that, I only dealt with if it was like, like someone that was so close to me that I'm like, yes, let me clear this out. But it was something I didn't want. It's one of those things where I would say, like, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, right? Like, unless I knew I could actually do it, because you unleash a power that is like, it's like a Kundalini force, right? Those of you that are commenting and things, I'll go back. You can comment and then I'll go back and read through, okay? But the thing that's happening is like, we have to understand that we've hit a new level of power, especially in the anchoring now in 2024. We've hit a new threshold. So now we're capable of doing different things. So now these things, for me, in my growth and in as a way shower, right? Now I'm like, oh, I see the curses, I see the vows, I see the spells, I see how the energy is binding and it's looping inside of DNA. It's like a dis-ease, except it's an energetic one, okay? And they're coming up to the surface, and now I know what to do because I've had the practice and, enough one-on-one sessions, and I've obviously cleared a lot of things in my own life this way. I didn't even know, I've been talking about this, I didn't even know that this stuff was possible. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, of course this is what it is, right? Because in ancient timelines, in old timelines, or if you don't think about past lives, think about other lives, think about simultaneous life, think about all the things that are happening that are held in your soul, right? Like, we all understand that our soul is not fully incarnated in this body. So now we're clearing out all of these codes that have to do with our soul. It's not just about this moment physical life, but it's the stuff that we're carrying in our genes, the stuff in our bloodline, right? The stuff in our blood. So and in our genetics. So all of these things are coming up because they have to like clear out. They have to clear through. There's no more space. Our body, in order to turn into the light body, we have to make room for these things. Okay. And so think about all the times, you know, we see it. There's so many 1700s movies right now. I know a lot of people, like, who hasn't watched Bridgerton, for example, right? There's so many period movies that are going on, or period series right now, that are all about the kings and the queens and the monarchies and everything that happened during that time. You start to get a sense of the true fight, you know, from back in those days of, like, for example, women's rights, right? And the equality rights. That was like a whole other thing. Do you know how many people took vows or were, you know, casting spells? Do you know how many women behind the scenes, and they didn't have a right to society, like they were doing like all of these spells, and how many of us were involved in like all these different things? Well, as we reincarnate on this planet, now we get to clean it up. This is like sovereignty on a whole other level, right? We are taking responsibility for everything that has added up to this experience, everything that is in our body. Like, we're here for a reason. We're here on purpose. This is the next level. And so it's kind of wild. It's a very comprehensive kind of thing. But, you know, did we really think that we were going to come here and activate all this light and there were going to be like no, you know, ugly things to take care of? No, I mean, we have to reconcile this duality, right? We incarnated here. And of course, when this stuff happens, right, there's no way that, like, no problem is exposed without the solution also being available. So there's always a way. And, you know, and this is my job as, you know, part of the people that decided to be on the front lines. No way, we have another emergency. You guys. Do you want to come with me? And leave the building immediately. The elevator, use stairwells when necessary. All handicapped occupants. Okay. The building evacuation plan. We have an evacuation that is happening right now. Think about these things. We're gonna have part 2 to this. Okay. Those of you that commented, you know what? I'm gonna take some screenshots because clearly I gotta evacuate. We're gonna evacuate. Very, here we go. Very, you know what? Will you copy? I love you guys. OMG, all the love. Okay. Do you want to evacuate with me? Good Lord. You know, we're talking about important things, and I swear, when we talk about these things, okay, we're going to turn off the light. When we talk about these things, it's amazing, the stuff that happens. So we're going to turn off this light. And we're going to grab a bag with a computer because you never know if we need to work from somewhere else, and then we're going to go. And that's the thing, you know, but I should probably, actually, let's go see if anybody else is evacuating because maybe we don't need to because it just went off. Real life. The lights are not going off. So I feel like we're pretty safe. I'm gonna take you with me. Let's see if it works. Well, other, but this situation, okay, and everything was like crazy over here. So I think we're safe. I think we're good. So we can go back to our life. I think it's working. Hi, loves. Meanwhile, I'm thinking about how all of this makes sense. Thank you. Oh, good. Yay. Okay. You guys, you get to have like a tour of the whole house. Yeah, and the sunset is awesome. I am very happy. We can turn on our light again, and we can finish our chat. Thank you, God, Angels, Universe, for clearing that up. We had like so much going on downstairs today. It was wild. Okay, maybe we'll finish it this way. That sunset, that used to happen all the time in high-rise building I lived into. Oh, normal. Okay. Yeah, so wild. But I love this building so much. Okay. So let me read through some of these questions, and then maybe I still do want to make sure that everything is good, because we had like the firefighters crew here and like all sorts of stuff today. So, okay. So questions that came up. I was born with a physical disability, a deformity. It was definitely with the family bloodline. And sometimes this lifetime gives you the opportunity to clear, transmute the coding. Yeah. I was born with 1 in a million heart defect. And I had to have like all sorts of wild things. I was born with like a lot of things that were wrong with me technically. It was pretty crazy. I had to clear through all of that, and that the health was the very first part of my journey. So I feel you. I mean, I don't know, but you know that where you're just like, okay, there was a reason, right? There's always a reason. This is what I've learned. Nothing is wasted. Whether we get an experience for, you know, making up something in a different life, like there's something that shifted, something that we're not making up for, but we're balancing, like the scales of things, right? There's generally reasons. Or there's something that we're learning from it. Or sometimes it's a superpower. And it's an interesting way that our body, our spirit expressed it. So I also realized that the energy can be so powerful. When I went on a retreat with an inexperienced retreat leader, yeah, I feel like a portal was open and the leader wasn't equipped to clear it properly. Thank you for sharing this. This is a big, sadly, problem. And I've seen it myself, because I would be like, oh my gosh, this person is doing like a retreat over here. Like, I'm so excited to go. And then I'm like, they have no idea what they're doing. There's a lot of people that are not experienced. This is what I call like people that, you know, had an ayahuasca experience and they think they like know all the things, and then all of a sudden they start teaching, because this industry and this, you know, this framework is highly unregulated, which is fine. But then like for me, it was so important that I opened my eyes to be like, oh my gosh. And when people came to my retreats, people that are used to going to maybe like yoga retreats and other retreats, they came to my retreat, they were blown away, because I don't fuck around with the energy. I hold such, like I am a double Virgo, and I have so many planets in Virgo, but it's like the energy that I hold is so pure, it's so pristine, and I don't fuck around with it. If I am not in the place to deal with a thing, I will not, because my energy is so sharp. I will remove things like this. I can like heal things like this, right? But in order to do that, you attain yourself to a certain level of consciousness, and also there's a practice with that. So it's like a lot of people underestimate, and they think it's cool to open portals, and they don't understand what they're doing. So this is like a whole other thing. So yeah. Yep. Always reasons. I think I'm a double Virgo, and I have no idea why. So being a Virgo, no idea. So you'll sort it out. So the planets, let's put this phone back, because if I hold it anymore, I'm going to get like an achy situation. Okay, hold on. Shall we turn on our, this is not bad, huh? Do you want the light back on, or is this good? So being a Virgo helps to hold energy. Virgo is do you know that Virgo is the one feminine energy archetype in the zodiac, like in the ecliptic path that was like kept. So it's kind of a big deal. Like that's why there's a lot of Virgos. If you start digging into a lot of teachers and a lot of people that are like public facing, there's a lot of Virgos, because Virgos can hold the energy in a different way, because it's the energy of the virgin, which is purity. So we're picky. Generally they say, you know, people are like, oh, whatever, you're so picky and you're so precise and you're such a perfectionist. And it's like, those skills comes in very handy when we're dealing with good versus evil, very, very clear lines. And those are so important to hold. So, Yep, Virgos. Yep, amazing. So many Virgos in the house. That's awesome. I have been in touch with many Leos, and we are not our normal selves. Why? Is it something with the current energy? Even Jennifer Lopez is getting attacked. So yeah, okay, let's talk about this. So there's a lot of different attacks. Double Virgo's well. Look at that. That's amazing. Okay, so we're rebirthing this energy type. We're going to go back with this. Look at the difference. Can we just have a moment? Look at this. This is like the difference that light makes. All of a sudden, I look like I'm put together. It's so cool. It's like all of you that, you know, when you see these videos of people that do the Instagram thing, it's because we have these like amazing powered up light. Light makes all the difference. It's amazing. Okay, now I feel fabulous again. So let's talk about the energy that of attacking. So, okay, back to this concept of what is happening, right? We have turned on, literally reactivated the ancient timeline grids. Do you remember last year and the year before how many people have been called to Egypt? How many people felt the call to go to Egypt, right? I held a retreat and I was like, we have to go to Egypt. The land is calling. And I remember clearly during our retreat, we were on a boat, on a Dahibia boat on the Nile, and we went around and I asked everybody, like, you know, to share, like, I don't know if I asked them to share, but to introduce themselves. But anyway, everybody said, and I'm here because I had to be here. Not one person said, not one person actually read, it was the wildest thing. Not one person read the itinerary or like any of the things that I had read on the page, that I have written on the page. Everybody was like, Egypt called, I had to come with you. Like, this is how it happened. The land was calling, right? And so when you find a teacher that holds a certain vibration, a certain frequency, and you feel safe with, then it's like, okay, right? Like, that's where I'm going. So the land called. And when I was there the first day, before everybody came, I went earlier, obviously, to organize and arrange different things. But the first time I went to the pyramids by myself, it was just me, and we were with Henry, and we were with our team that we were working with to set up all of the sacred stuff. And I got on the pyramids, and I felt that energy. And the moment I grounded with heaven and earth, it was like, whew. And I don't know if I said this on Instagram before, if I'm allowed to, but like, I'm going to. But it felt like, whatever, we're just gonna like keep this in energy safety. But when I touched the pyramids and I connected to heaven and earth in the way that I know how, right, all the way through in the pristine energy, and I connected through all the layers of who I am, and I grounded into the pyramids, it was the wildest physical reaction in my body. It tasted like I had cocaine in my mouth, right? Like my whole mouth. That's why I was like, can we say this out loud? But it was like my whole face was numb. My whole body started like, because I was like, oh my gosh, this is like that energy. And it was like the whole, like everything was like going a million miles an hour. My whole circuitry got reactivated in this whole other wild ways. And I was like, ooh, it was like a hit of like a drug that I'd never known. Obviously it wasn't cocaine, right? Like it was like this energetic drug that I was like, oh my gosh, completely different circuitry, right? And so as we went to these ancient sites, this was such a thing. I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a drug. This energy and the circuits, right? The grids that are coming back. These were our ancient grids. These are the grids we came in on. This is the energy that we originally incarnated in with, right? This stuff. It's like coming back, but our bodies are so not used to it anymore because these like, you know, it's the power of Atlantis, the power that got so crazy and out of control, right? Because it was like otherworldly power that was in this system, and it literally blew up, right? And the city went underwater. Like it blew, it's the stuff that has blown shit up that we are like sitting here saying like, we can hold it again. Like we can do this. Let's birth this because we get to clean out the fucking distortions that are going on in our planet, which all you have to do these days is turn on the news and see these debates. And you're like, what the fuck is happening in this world? How did we let it get this bad? Right? Like, how did we like not pay attention to everything? So the distortions have added up through time. And this is the important part that I wanted to explain to you. And this is why the attacks are happening now. Because the grids, okay, the grid works of reality, when we anchor in light, right? When it's like, oh, we got to anchor in more light. We got to bring in more light. We're bringing in these timelines of abundance. We're bringing in higher timelines. Do you know how many people are collapsing times and bringing in their future selves and shifting into like identity of future, right? There's a lot of us that are like time jumping, and we're bringing in these higher timelines, abundance timelines, harmonious timelines. We are breaking through these energetic barriers. We're breaking through these confines, right, of reality. And it's like an extraordinary thing where all of this energy, right, is adding up. And on the grids, right, especially solstices and equinoxes, as the bad people are doing the bad stuff, quote, quote, right, we are the good people that are like anchoring in the light. Like, you know, some people are doing the evil magical stuff. Some people are doing the white magical stuff. I mean, this is what it comes down to. It's always light versus dark because we're in separation. It's two sides of the same thing, but in this, you know, incarnation, we're team light. This is what we signed up for. We're here to reconcile this whole big thing. So we're here, we're anchoring in this light, these ancient grids with the ancient technology, which connects to our DNA, are now online on the planet. All of these ancient sites are calling people for us to activate all over the world, right? Because it's our energy signature, our DNA that activates the sacred sites because we carry it in our blood. Okay, if you guys don't know this yet, all of us, the reason why in the world, all of these like 23andMe, right? The research, the history, the family history things, your genealogy, where do you come from? All of the stuff that you send in your DNA and then they tell you where your lineage is from. That is important, which is scary to me that, you know, they know all these things. But anyways, you can track that without, you know, I digress. Whew, so many things to say. So this is what happens when you're ADD and you're like holding it straight. So when we have, and also I have a lot of knowledge and a lot of things that I want to say. So all of these different portals that are opened up, that connected all these grids that now deposited all of these higher frequencies on the planets, right? We've activated the consciousness of Mother Earth. There's all of these crystals that are literally bursting from the earth, like these different like ancient sites that are like recalling all the people. Everybody's feeling these portals. There's big power that's coming in. Some people are equipped to handle it and some not so much. But what's happening is, okay, so hold this. In the ancient times, okay, if you do your genealogy and if you discover your family lineage, what you're really looking at is your past lives, because we have kept on incarnating inside the same bloodline so that we could come back in this moment of time and pick up all of our codes. Okay, our codes are inside of our blood, and they have been coming down generation after generation. Why do you think the royal people, right, the blue blood people, as people have been calling them, like they only marry certain families, only marry certain families, right? People empowered know this. Like they only like merge bloodlines, certain families with certain families, because they know that they come back in those families. Like nobody ever took that knowledge away from them, so they know that this is how it works, and so they want to keep coming back in the wealthy family lines and the power lines, and they keep breeding them out because they know that they keep cycling back and they keep on setting stuff for the future so that they come back and like, you know, have an experience, because right now that's how they have it set up. We came to break those cycles, right? Which means that we get to do this. We had to like learn all of these things. We had to have our Kundalini awakenings, our dark nights, all the things. We had to go through all of the earth stuff. And now we have to remember who we are, remember these past lives, you know, these like family stuff, like all of this stuff is coming in because we're like, oh my God, we have like this whole layer of consciousness to liberate. We have to regain who we are. Like we're here to remerge consciousness with our own selves. So the becoming one is becoming one with our own own self. We've been fragmented for so long, right? So we're taking our power back. And everyone that is here for this particular journey is going to face this one way or another. And like, just like all of these things happen, like it will catch your attention, right? It will stall. Your reality will stop moving and it won't make sense. And you'll be like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And it's like, oh, that girl was saying, right? Because you're called to it. When you're called to it, we have like these fail-safe mechanisms that we set out because we're here for a greater purpose. And sometimes this world is very distracting and, you know, we could forget, like we have a tendency sometimes to forget and have human experiences, right? Because fire alarms and things and like whatever not. But that's not the important stuff. The important stuff is the other stuff. So all of a sudden, as these ancient grids are coming online, our blood is like boiling on the inside. We're remembering who we are. Our frequency, whether we are aware of it or not, is lit up in a whole new way. And so because of that, we are now dealing with things like psychic attacks and like next level kind of interference on a whole new level, okay? Because we're coming online at a higher level. Our consciousness is higher. We're calling in these higher experiences, manifesting abundant realities, like all of these different things that we're calling in. We're understanding, you know, all of the Galactic Federation of Light. We're understanding all of these things. Our minds have expanded. Our DNA has activated. We've done so much work on this planet that all of a sudden we're capable of holding new knowledge. So we also have to understand that through all of these past lives that we've incarnated in, now it's all actively wanting to become a whole. Right? Because time is kind of like doing this thing where it's collapsing. We're collapsing time. And so all of a sudden our genes are like ding, 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 1700s, 1600s, you know, like pre-Diluvian time, like 39,000 BC. Like we are going the full span and we are all of a sudden activating within us. Well, guess what? We have to make room. We have to make room. So all the traumas, all the soul agreements, like it all has to complete. Like we can't hold on to, like forgiveness is the baseline. Like so many people to forgive, right? When people piss you off and you get triggered, like remember, like this is an opportunity to forgive. Like we're clearing out energy. Like we're clearing out energy and there's so much to clear, but it goes beyond that. Now we're getting into these energetic bindings that are in our blood. These are ancient vows, spells, curses that came from back in the days when we were using science by way of magic, but in darker ways. You know, so many people have been experimented on. So many people have lived through times where they took vows. Like think about, I'm going to give you very real ideas. Like vows of celibacy. Do you know how many women for protection, they became nuns back in the days because that was a safe heaven? So they took vows of celibacy, which means that they weren't going to have children, right? And what they didn't understand in some cases, depending on the order of the nuns and all of those things, for example, is that those vows would go through time. And women now don't have fertility problems. They can't have children because those vows reactivated, right? Like there are layers of intricacy through these things. There was one of my clients, one of my one-on-one clients, that she had, like, for example, like this, that reminds me of this. It was the opposite kind of effect. She kept, no matter what, she kept getting pregnant. And she was like, this is not what I want, right? Like, why is this happening? This is like really hurting like my intimacy because I can't be intimate with my partner if I'm constantly scared, right? That the second that anything happens, it's like, oh, there's baby in me. And I was like, this is really strange. Like we talked about the normal things. And then I was like, let me go look at your records. Let me go see what's happening. Let's go look at some past lives. And then there was a spell that was made to help her in a past life. So this was actually like a thing to help her where she was meant to like produce royal heirs. She was the woman that was meant to have babies. And so in order for her to be successful, they put this energy on her and they did like all of these like magic things, like ancient magic things for her, for the energy to always come to her, for her to be like a vessel, for her to be like assured her position and, you know, and everything else because she was having a hard time. And so that energy now reactivated. It followed her in this past. Like, it is mind blowing. The stuff that shows up in this life, right? When you look at people and you're like, I wonder why, right? This always seems to happen to them. This always seems to happen to this person. This is all, this is how it works for me. Like, ask yourself why, right? I started asking myself these questions. Like, for me, my friends have, ever since I can remember, they make fun of me because, like, many people, this is kind of funny, but I'm going to tell you guys the truth. Like, I have been proposed to more times than I can count. No, that's not true. I can count them on two hands. But, like, I have been, like, this person that has been proposed to so many times. And it's such a crazy thing, right? Do you know how many women want to have, like, marriage proposals and they don't, like, it was a weird thing. It was a weird imbalance when it came to that. And I was like, where does this come from? But then it's like not the, right? Like, there are things that come from past lives and patterns, right? And then me as a person, I've had a wild fear of commitment in this life. Like, I was one of these people, yet that's, how it manifested. So there were things that were twisted and they all came from past lives, right? But they were things that were helping us or things that we did for safety. We did for our own, right? Like, we took on vows in order to save ourselves because back in the days, it was like, it was rough. It was an eye for an eye, right? There were different things. Back in the days of Atlantis also, when the distortions start to happen, this was like a crazy time. It was a time in Egypt back to Atlantis. In Atlantis, when the people in power started experimenting with energy, right? And the power got so crazy and the people in power got, like, out of control, right? And they ended up blowing up a city. But obviously there were issues before that time, right? And some of it, like, it's kind of like you had to, like, pledge allegiance almost to, one side or another side to save yourself. It was like life or death things. And some people, like, you have families, like, there's things like we made decisions, vows, or we were thrown into, like, different magical bindings because of circumstances. And in some lives, we didn't really know what we were doing, right? And in some lives we did. And, like, it just kind of all added. This is all surfacing now. This is all our own genetic history. It's coming up. It blows my fucking mind. But this is the stuff that we're dealing with. Okay. And so as light workers or people that are, like, rebirthing this light codes, like, this is stuff, it sounds like sci-fi, but hey, it's not the first time that I'm sitting here on the internet talking about things that are like, what the, because we're here talking about sovereignty and we've been talking about, nope, like, we are responsible for ourselves, like, everything in our reality we create. And then all of a sudden it's this feeling like, wait, do I really have to deal with this stuff? Right? I was the first to feel this way. I wrote you guys an email about it. If you haven't opened it, it's in your inbox from yesterday. I was the first one when my guides were like, it's a curse. I was like, I don't think so. I dealt with that stuff. I was like, I'm just going to raise my frequency. I'm just going to keep doing my work and choose to think higher thoughts and that's just going to fall off. I'm just not even going to be in frequency range. I don't want to open that door. I don't want to look at that shit. You guys, I'm still like, like, sometimes I have these moments where I'm like, do I really, can we just keep on working on our higher, alignment? And then life falls apart. Everything falls away. And you're made to look at it. So, I'm still here having a human experience. Even though, right, I know things. And it's like, I should have known better. Like, if I would have looked at that, I wonder, right? Like, how many things would have been different. But it's okay because it was a powerful experience for me to learn and to see how much my life actually shifted, how much my energy shifted, how much everything around me shifted once I actually went and took care of the things and had the courage to muster the power to look at these things. Because it's not just like we were saying, like, on retreats, people open portals and they don't realize what they're doing. It requires effort and power. Like, I prepare for these things. It's like full light, armor on, not like, hey, I'm going to bed and I'm kind of like halfway asleep and I'm just going to take the look and see if I can like handle some stuff like out there in the astral planes. No, this is like game on, like energy on. Like imagine yourself presenting at a fucking stadium full of people, right? Like, and you are on and your light outfit is strong and your crown of light is on and you remember all your skills and all your superpowers and you are focused and you are sharp. Except this is like an energy game, meaning like your power and, you know, your focus, like everything has to work. This is like how we move consciousness in the astral planes. It's like focused intention, powerful, potent energy, right? And then we start to get through different doorways and to understand and to be shown different things. This is actually utilizing, right, our skill set, like our energy field, instead of like wasting it in the way that we've been used to on planet Earth, because we just kind of, you know, have been like dumbed down. But like now that we're awakening, we get to use all of this. And so we have the ability, we just haven't been taught how to use it. And so these are the things I teach you inside the new course that's called Break the Curse. Okay, it's a digital experience and we're gonna go clear all of that stuff because it is something that is happening. So if any of this stuff resonates with you, like please go and take a look at it, because like we're gonna go do this work and it's gonna feel like a liberation of consciousness from inside of you. Your life will absolutely change. Like it's wild the way that this stuff is, but it's like if you could take a dis-ease from your body and clean it out, wouldn't you? Right? If you could take a gene that causes some kind of, you know, malfunction in the body and clean it out, wouldn't you do it? It's the same thing, except this is energetic, right? It's energetic kind of belief systems. It's vows of like, you know, playing small, of hiding, of poverty, of, you know, there's so many different things, like the different choices between. So many people are stuck with self-inflicted courses. I had one that I dealt with a long time ago, actually, and I thought that was it. I thought that was it, and I was done. And you may know about it, but years ago, it was between love and money, and it ran in my bloodline. And I had this deep-seated knowing that if I chose to marry for love, I would not have money. And if I married somebody that had money, or if I was with somebody that had money, then I wouldn't have love. It was just this thing, like I would keep on running into, and it was crazy. I would find either one or the other. Like my system was just coded for it. It was my grandma, it was my mother. It was like, you know, all the women before me. It was just like this thing, and I had to clean that out, and that required a lot of work. And then, you know, I manifested according to my new belief system. But that's like, it took a lot of work back then. The way that we are able to clear these binded beliefs, these curses, right, where we would have to choose between this or that, or like these kinds of like spells that are on, or like vows that we took, then or just energetic bindings that we ended up with. Like the way that we can do it now is, I don't want to say it's easier, because it's not easier, it's just more efficient. It doesn't take as long if you know how to do it. And this is the stuff that I'm going to teach you, like inside of the Break the Curse experience, digital experience. We're going to have 3 modules of like a deep dive where I explain so much of, you know, how to structure this and how to get ready for this, because it's a get ready thing, and then how to do it. And then we're going to go do it together. Like, we will slay the things together, and you will have an experience of being back, like going to sleep. And there's like serious directions. It's like energetic surgery on a whole other level. And then you'll go to sleep, and the next day you're like, it's like being a new person. It's like a really wild thing. And so you'll know, but all of it, you will be in sovereignty. Right? So that's why I have to like prepare you for it. So there's 3 modules of preparation, and then there's 4 modules of like, we're looking at specific things where we're going to do this work together, and I will help everyone that's inside the course. So it's like health related, love related, money related, And just added by grand request, so many of you requested self-worth and confidence, because that was like, it really is a big thing. So we're gonna go and look at that stuff and we're gonna clean it up. So I'm really excited for it, because like life will change. Life will absolutely change after you clean up, you know, any and all possibilities for these kinds of things, right? Some of us were, you know, I thought about this today too, like with the martyrdom, you know, that we took on in other lives, like being a martyr, right? And we kind of have this saying now, but, you know, like the pilgrimages that people like go and do, like these kind of pilgrimages, this kind of like suffering to cleanse. These are all old and ancient timelines that are like getting like mixed in. There's such a remix of energy because everything is merging and these portals are reopening. And so our energy is flowing on all these different levels. And it's like, in order to hold it, we really got to harness the power in our physical body. And so all non-harmonious things are coming to the surface, right? Like they're coming up to our attention. One of the ways that I thought of this recently, and I think we talked about it on here, was like, I decided to deal with, like, since I was little, I was like allergic to a particular kind of like drugs, like anti-inflammatory, whatever. I can't remember, like some kind of cortisone or something like that. And it was never a thing. I just, when you go, in case something happens, you just say, hey, I have this allergy, right? What is it? And then I started thinking about it, and it's like, what is an allergy? An allergy is something in our body that runs a program that whenever a substance is introduced in our body, we have a whole reaction to it. I was like, is that necessary to hold on to? Is it like a corrupt file? Like, do we want to harmonize that? So I went through this whole thing of like clearing out these allergies, right? And all these different things, because it's like, I don't need to hold on to a script that's corrupt. It's the same thing, right? We're looking at it in all these different, you know, ways. But in our world, modern world these days, we actually have been looking at symptoms and treating symptoms instead of actually looking at, hey, you know, what's going on in the coding, like what's going on in the actual health. Let's like actually get ourselves healthy so that we can handle the world. Instead, it's like, oh, you're having an issue, let me put a Band-Aid on it and like never cure it. You know, we know this about like, you know, modern medicine. So it's very, very obvious. But I also think it is interesting, and this was a recent reflection of mine, with everything that happened in 2020, okay, and how many people awakened. And the stuff that has to do with the blood, and it has to do with the genes, because you know that the stuff that went into wide circulation on this planet and was forced on so many people, that stuff triggered stuff. It triggered not only malfunctions in the body. A lot of people died from it. A lot of people had massive side effects from it, right? You know what I'm talking about when I'm saying 2020 and the things that were forced on the people. Not only that as a physical thing, but also just the energy of being truly coerced to do something against will. These are triggers from like massive past lives. This is like enslavement, right? Like being born less than, like so many of these things like that we're clearing through that are being re-triggered by these events. And then it's like, you know, that was like a corrupted file that went in so many people's bodies. And it's like all of a sudden, all of these energies are being triggered alive on our planet. So of course, those of us that are doing the light work, those of us that are here birthing frequencies, like we have to do the light work to make up for the distortions, right? And so we're over here naturally doing, energetically utilizing our skills and our abilities to literally like counter up with the technology, you know, of all the stuff that's going on. How many people are now going to live in a completely fake world because of AI, right? You don't even know, like you see these experiences, like you see people sharing stuff online and it's like, but were you actually there, or is that AI? Did you actually have that? So we're sharing fake things to create a fake world. And I'm like, people are going to stop like going places and experiencing things because so many people are in this world like sharing, you know, because they want to create, like, how many people do photo shoots around the world just because they want pretty pictures on the world? Now that's not necessary. They just like do the AI stuff and it's all fake, right? And so it's like, it's so crazy to me. And I'm like, don't forget the natural things of this world. There's no AI that's going to be able to help you feel the feeling of being with your feet and connected and touching the pyramids and the energy that runs in Egypt, right? Or when you go to these different sacred sites, that's not something you can capture in like an AI mode. I mean, you guys know this, but it's kind of like we get to be better and better and better at discerning and activating our higher abilities so that we can understand what's what in this world. Like, you know, as the world and the technology goes next level, we also have to go next level. And the way that we do that is by making room. We have to address these old bindings that are coming up. And that is why, my loves, this was a very long answer to why are people being attacked. But that's why. Because whenever the light rises so much and we're at new thresholds, we always get counterattacks. It's the same stuff that, there was a movie that showed this, actually, that illustrated. I believe it was a movie with Matthew McConaughey, and they called it The Shine. And there was a kid who you could see their whenever they connected and they used their superpowers, you could see that their light was tracked. And there were bad guys that were after this kid, where, you know, he couldn't use his superpowers because in the moment he did, his light was tracked, and, you know, the bad guys were after him because they wanted to harness his abilities and his powers. It's no different. It's no different than the stuff you see on the Matrix and all the others, like all the sci-fis, right? Like they've kind of, you know, shown us the different ways, but it's like, why would our frequency not be tracked? I mean, frequency is everything that we live on, right? Like there's so much, like our TVs, our phones, our Wi-Fi's, like everything. It's like waves and frequencies, right? Like there's so much. And so it's like, yes, of course, like frequency thresholds are like a thing. There's people that monitor this stuff. Like we understand these things. And so of course, whenever we get to a certain point, like, you know, there's attacks that are coming. People, you know, there's good and there's bad. And so knowing this, it doesn't mean that you're doing anything wrong. In fact, a lot of times it's just learning how to hold, right? When I start seeing these things and when things like that start happening in my reality and I start feeling like there's attacks, I'm like, next level of holding light, right? It's our responsibility. So it's like, oh, they can see me. Like I'm being noticed. So I have to work with my energy, right? Cloak it, encrypt it, all the things to actually not be viewable and still do my work, right? There's a thing that my dad used to say, and he kind of like, you know, he would say like, hey, like blend in, fly down, blend in with the crowd, don't be noticed, right? Like keep your head down, keep doing your work. Like he would say that, like fly down. I remember that. It would drive me insane when I was a kid because I'm like, we're not meant to blend in, we're not meant to fly down, we're not meant to shine. Obvious, we're not meant to not shine. All these things are, you know, we pick parents and families and triggers and, you know, because it all serves us in the end, you know this, like on the other side of it. But like, yeah, it's like so many times people give up on the spiritual work because they start to hold more power and then they're like, man, this is madness, right? And then you end up like, you know, just dumbing down and like, just, oh my gosh, it's like, I'm just gonna, you know, and they stop doing the work and they like go back and like frequency, because here, when you're here, you don't get attacked because you don't blow off the radars, but also this is the existence that's not fulfilling. This is the existence that feels depressing, where like shit starts to like not be fulfilling and then the world around you starts to fall apart. So it's a temporary solution to numb down to like, you know, the 3D world or whatever, like lower vibrational fields, but it doesn't work. We have to learn to sustain the higher frequencies and actually operate on these higher frequencies and hold our energy and our light and our shields and literally what I call our armor of light. Like it's for real, right? Like it's for real. And so we can't just like sit here and listen to people that talk about stuff. Like I'm listening to this week, I was like kind of checking out some things that people are saying around on YouTube, like people with massive followings. And I was like, oh my God, this stuff is so outdated. There are so many people that are preaching basic energy stuff. Like it's the new codes, and it's like, you're going to die out there. It's like you're going out there in the frequency world with outdated armor. You know what I mean? Like you don't know, you don't know what you're dealing with. Like you don't know who, it's like what's on the other side of it. And that's the truth. It's like, just remember that when you learn how to work with energy and frequency and hold your own energy lines and powers and be truly in charge of who you are within yourself and within all the systems, then that's when you really become unfuckable with, right? And then we learn to hold that frequency, and then it's like, ooh, and then we have this human experience and it's like, shit. And then we grow back again, right? It's kind of like that. But the thing is, when you are in a place to do that and you grow and you learn these things, it keeps getting better and you always have a way. That's the best part, is that you always have a way. You have skills and tools and knowledge inside of you that no one can take away from you, right? No one can take it away, because you have these invisible skills where you can literally start to like shift reality around you if you just focus, if you just practice these things. So I think it's pretty phenomenal, like what we're capable of doing. So, okay, I'm going to go and look at some of the comments, my loves. Hi to everybody that joined. In the meantime, I have been saying I have allergies for the past 2 weeks, and I've never suffered from allergies. You are speaking to me. Yeah, so, okay. Thank you for sharing that, Myra. These things are coming up because our body has to make room. And you're going to start having these weird side effects in life that don't make any sense, okay? Like, because we have to raise to the next level of consciousness. And a lot of these things are held in these codes inside of us. And so, like, when we deal with this original coding, it's almost like when I didn't deal with this curse that I had that got triggered within myself. At first, I didn't deal with it. So it was an ancient curse. And for me, I've mentioned this before. It was an ancient curse from pre-Diluvian times, like back in the days of Egypt. And when I was in Egypt in one of the sites, there was a moment that I had an experience, and it was outside of the group and nobody was there. And like, that's when this thing reactivated. And it was a really, really wild experience. And I haven't actually shared it because it was like so crazy, but some of the people that were close to me know about it. But I was taken by a priest in a temple. It was wild. And like all of a sudden put on like this, like, this place where like frequencies were running, and all of us, I was like, he took me there, and even in all of my, experience of life, I just wasn't like, I wasn't ready for what he thought I was ready for or something like that. And it was like this wild stuff inside me, and it reactivated. And I don't know necessarily that I wasn't ready for it. I think it reactivated in me, and had I faced it right away, it would have been different, but I didn't. And so all of a sudden my life started just like unraveling until I actually decided to look at it, right? But it came as like it was inevitable that it would happen, because I wouldn't have looked at it in any other way. And that's the way that it happens. But when I didn't look at it, that's when my body started having a reaction. So I didn't look at it, and I started like gaining weight. I started showing allergies. I had some days where I didn't feel well. Why? Because there was something else inside of me that was energetic, that was a curse that I needed to go and clear out and disassemble and literally unbind. And my body was reacting. Like I was allergic to that stuff that was running. It was codes running in my body, right? And so then all of a sudden, that's the stuff that you start to see. And so then I dealt with allergies. I dealt with all these other things. My hormones started going out of whack. I was in like early premenopause. Once I cleared the damn curse thing situation, everything started operating like normal again. I was like, mother of all, why didn't I listen? But again, having a human experience, right? And this is now stories that I get to tell you and that maybe you can relate to, and I wouldn't have known this before. So nothing is ever wasted. Everything always adds up. So, okay. Self-worth and confidence, Myra. Yeah, it sounds like this may be like up your alley. If you want to look at it, it's linked in my bio. Those of you that feel resonance with the things that I'm saying, go and look at it, because it's like in my bio right now. And if you're curious, if this is like so wild for you and you're like, what in the fuck is she actually talking about? This is so far out. I decided to do a thing, and I think we're doing it. It's called Ancient Magick. So come and just kind of have a deeper conversation. It'll be like this, but we're going to get deeper. Okay. We are doing it. We literally scheduled it today. On Thursday, the 11th at 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Mountain, which is 7 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. It's called Ancient Energy Magick. I'm going to explain to you what has actually happened. We're going to get in detail about these things so that you can kind of be like, oh, this is what it feels like. I want to help you like understand, and figure out if this is something that like, so that sometimes once we understand things, like things start to unlock. And then if you decide that, you know what, like, actually, I want to keep going, and, like it feels like I have resonance here. Like it feels like I want to keep going. I want to do the next level of this. Then this one time, it's like just like a one time workshop. It's $111. And then I will give you that in the form of a coupon to use towards the full course. Okay. So you can like basically, and that's going to be a bonus for everybody that's inside the course. So if any of you are kind of like, I don't know, I'm not sure about this like magic stuff that you're talking about, like I resonate with you, but you're going like too far, come and check this out. It's just like a 1 hour. We'll probably go a little over, because knowing me, we have like, if we have Q&As and we get into things, like we'll probably end up being like an hour and a half, maybe longer. I don't know, but we're going to get into this. And I won't hold back. Like if you have questions and whatever, like I'll give you the real stuff, because obviously we'll be not on social media, so I can like talk for reals. So come and check it out. Okay. That's also linked, it's in my stories. If you go, there's a highlight that's called, what do I call it? Break the Curse. So it's called BTC. And in there's like all sorts of things. And there's also a link, and I think it's also linked. Let's go check it out. This is why we have so many phones. When you click the link in my bio, okay, we're going in here. Oh yeah, it's actually the first thing that comes up. It's called Ancient Energy Magick. Good job, team, Moonbabes team, linking all the things. So you can like go in the link in my bio, and then you scroll. This is the first thing that comes up. This is the one-time workshop. And then if you go down, this is the Break the Curse, the full experience. Okay? So, very cool. And those of you, in case you don't know, the link in the bio, you just go to my profile, and it's that link right there, right? Sometimes like people are new to how that works, and we just kind of say it all the time, but that's what that means. Okay, questions. I'm on a celibacy journey right now. It's been so hard for me to find a partner for 3 years now. Dominique. I think I'm saying that right. The celibacy journey, is that like something that like you chose? It depends if it's something that you're choosing in this life. Is it re-triggering something? And it's like, if it's so hard to find a partner, right? Is this like a trigger? Are we like going back to like some vows that were taken? Is this something that was reactivated in some way? Right? Because sometimes we make choices in this life that re-trigger, And so it's like, this is stuff that's coming up now. It's like, why am I seeing these patterns? If everything is happening for a reason, and if we're the creator of our own experience, and if everything that's happening in our life is a frequency match, then what is it inside of us that's manifesting these things? Right? Like in my case, it had to do a lot with like relationships and love. So, there's a lot to it. I had a lot like that was like messed up. Like for example, everything that happened with my health was a journey of learning for me. There were like no curses that I have found there when it came to that, right? But health was like heavy for me. It doesn't mean that was necessarily like any of that stuff, right? It was part of the journey, and I had to like pick certain challenges to grow in, in courage and determinations and everything that I've learned, right? That I've had to develop skills to understand certain things, because health is a way of learning. So sometimes it's that. And so this is the stuff I need to teach you, like the difference, right? We need to recognize all these things. And there's a way of telling, right? Curses is something that you can see. You can I can see when you're trained. You can scan a person. You can understand the energy, right? Like we see them in different ways. And so it's like when you're so maybe one day I'll even certify people, who knows, like about these things, because it'd be cool. And those of you, there was a point where I offered a teaching. I can't remember in which course it was. And then I took it back because I was like, I don't know if people are ready for this, but I was teaching you guys, and maybe maybe it's time to bring it back. But I was teaching you guys how to do readings, soul readings, the way that I do them. And then I was like, ooh, that's too much. I need to add like other protocols to that, because it's really cool. If you've never had a one-on-one with me, I mean, there's definitely like, they're intense. And what happens is I will scan everything in your energy, and I can tell you exactly what's going on. You don't have to say a word. And I see everything from your connection to your body to heaven and earth. And it's really wild. And this is the kind of stuff that I started seeing patterns in the energy fields. And I would tell people these stories that I can see this stuff. So I can tell you what happened in the other lives. I can tell you where it comes from, right? It's so wild. But the wildest thing is like when I tell my clients, my one-on-one like students like that I work with, it's like, they're like, oh my God, and everything makes sense. It's like all these domino effects, and like everything starts to unravel and everything makes sense, and you feel sane again, right? Like it's like, oh my gosh, everything makes sense. Because these things can also cause like stuff that feels like mental health is like, why is this not working, right? Like it's kind of a crazy thing. So yes. Okay. Amazing. Yeah, so a lot of people are not like normal selves. Like we were talking about this. There's nothing like a Sonia retreat. Hi, Caroline. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Oh my gosh, you guys, we're going to do a thing. We're having an 8/8 2-day event. I think it may be a 3-day event. Those of you, thank you for saying that. I wanted to mention this tonight, and then we kind of had so many other things, but I'll send you guys an email. We're going to do an event up at my former house that's now Henry's house, in the retreat room. I am so excited for the Lions Gate. So I'm really excited. Yeah, there's nothing like a Sonia retreat. Thank you. Energy is like a whole other thing. So I'm really excited. I'm going to send you a thing. It's literally like a 30-day notice because of the developments of things in my life. But if you can make it, who knows? I don't know if it'll be the last in that house. I didn't think I was going to be able to have another retreat in that house, but we are meant to. So this is a 4-year reunion for everybody that came in 2020. That's amazing. Hi, love. Yes. Okay. Oh, yay. I'll be there. Okay. Amazing. Yeah, those of you that have like that this resonates with and you want to look at it, and then you can decide what you want to do. But if you're kind of on the fence about it, come on the 11th, and then if it's not for you, you'll learn things, and then you'll be like, okay, maybe it's not. But if it is, like, then you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be like, this is the thing that I was waiting for, right? So cool. Yep. Looking deeper into it. Yeah, so that's called Ancient Energy Magic. And you'll find it here in the link in my bio. Cool. Okay, how do you deal with people that don't believe you when you speak about energies? Oh, Lord. And how do you, sorry, it makes me laugh because it's the story of my life. And how do you maintain your relationship with people that don't believe the same as you? So, number one, we cannot convince other people of our belief systems. This is not our job, and we are not here to save them. Okay, this is a hard lesson for everybody that's a Virgo, because Virgos generally always know more. We keep track of things and we know things and we have solutions, and we kind of know things. Virgos came to be the teachers in this world. There's a lot of people that have like strong Virgo placements in their charts, and wherever that is, like, okay, but I digress. Anyways, but you're a Leo. You were saying that you're a Leo, if I remember right. So you want to express, and you're very, like, Leos are very pure-hearted, and so you want to say things, and you want the thing, because if you know that the thing you're saying is true, you want the thing you're saying to get the attention that it deserves, because it's important and it's true, and it's like that. So that can be tricky. The thing is, we get to learn to respect other people's opinions, right? Not everybody lives on the same reality grids. Not everybody, it's obvious, right? The reality around us. Like, some people live in a world that, where this is how it works for me, and this is how it works for me, and this is how it, like, there's people in different experiences of reality. So what I've learned to do is say, oh, okay, like, well, that's, this is how it works for me. In my experience, this is how it works for me. But I don't volunteer my experience unless someone is asking, and the energy works for it, because otherwise it's like giving, in the Bible it says it's like giving pearls to the swine, right? So it's like giving something of great value to someone that has no concept of how to utilize it. It's like giving, in a worldly sense, it's like giving a Ferrari or a Lamborghini to someone, to a kid that just learned to drive, and they crash it right away. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, so a lot of times it's kind of like that. So I say that the bigger answer is live your life in such a way that people will ask you, how do you do that? How do you know that? That's how it happens for me. People are like, wait, how do you live where you live? Like, how do you do that? And it's like, I have these principles of light. I live my life this way, right? And so I start talking about things, or it's like, how do you know that? How is your energy so shiny? How do you always, shift things around? How does life always work out for you? How do you always you start having people around you where you live life in such a way that people will start asking questions. That's the best way. Right? And then when it comes to other things, like, of course I have, like, for example, like, I fight fights for, like, my family. Like, my mom and my dad, for example, for a time, like in Italy, the thing that happened in 2020, my family lives in Italy, it was mandatory for everyone. They couldn't leave their house. They couldn't do anything. It was like lockdown on a whole other level. And I was like, don't you dare. And I talked them out from the ledge many times. They later discovered that if, because of certain conditions with my father's health, that he would have been at high risk of, like, death had he done that. But the doctors everybody was so freaked out about the situation, right? And I was like, right there, I was like, you do not. Like, I don't, like, right? And I kept talking sense into them, and I kept fighting the fight, and now they're like, oh my gosh, thank you. But that's family. That's people that you're like I will put up a fight for certain people when I know that it's like that, right? In other things, I'll say things, but it's like, it's really always up to the people, that it's like, you can't make people do certain things. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that. And then how do you maintain relationships? It's like, do you want to maintain relationships? That's the question. Sometimes I tried to carry out some friendships and some relationships because I feel like, they're great people and whatever not, but then we don't really have conversations. And so it's kind of like certain people tend to fall away. And this is kind of the truth of it, right? Some people will fall off, and you'll find people to have conversations with. And often I forget that, like, I just opened a new business. A lot of you guys know this, MediSpa, an integrative wellness center. So excited about it. Come to see me, everybody in Salt Lake. It's called Golden Goddess. Amazing. You can message me if you have questions, but we just opened this, and all of a sudden I'm in a realm of, like, people that are, like, normal. And I am like, wait, I am fully living in this reality where people the majority of people that I interact with on a daily basis function on, this higher level. And so it's like, oh yeah, I gotta relate, right? Like relating to people, but it's good because you want to be able to relate to people and you can kind of work, with wherever they're at. And so it's like, don't take it personal. This is what I would say. Don't take it personal. This was a really long answer, but like, it's not about you, right? And so it's like, it's just like, sometimes we take it personal. Like we didn't win. We didn't convert them over to like the higher standards of life. They don't know that this is so much better for them, but it's like, that's not the job, right? Everybody has to learn their own way. And so it's like, we are there to be an example of what is possible. And so if you live your life that way, right, then you'll have a relationship based on that frequency. And so that's how that works. Okay, I hope that helps you. How much is that service from you? Are you asking about like my one-on-ones? Like you can message me. My one-on-one, you can book for like a half hour or an hour. But if it's something like this, it's definitely more of an hour. And so, but the reason why I did this course is because booking one-on-one with me is $777. Okay. And that's an hour and we get the job done and it is done. And I show up for you. Like you have an experience and life changes, right? So it's kind of like, it's an energy exchange on that level. And like, I am fully here, whatever it is that you need, I'm your team. Like I will do it for you. And so it's kind of like, it's wild and it's crazy, but that's how it works. So when I work with you inside of the courses, that's why it's like, it's an experience. Like the course, you can access like the deep dive for the course for less than that, right? Because like we do it as a group and we do it together. And so it's like, and you can start to like understand these things. That's why I love these experiences because like we can, I can open up the energy to work with more. And then it's like a massive vortex of energy where everybody, it's like, it's so powerful. It's different working with me one-on-one and working with me inside groups and these experiences. These are active experiences. This is not a course where I just teach you things. This is like, all right, we're going to go in, we're going to do the work. This is a breakthrough moment. You're going to have like specific instructions. You're going to get ready for it. It's almost like you're going to have your own retreat at home. Any of you that have been inside of the course called Sovereign Queen with me, like it's that stuff. Like you will have a breakthrough, right? Like we have like powerful moment. Your body, like you will need to rest after, you will need to nourish yourself. And so I think it's extraordinary that I can now do this, with a group of people digitally because we're connecting energetically in the astral planes. I think it's so cool. I used to think it was so cool when I could take you on astral journeys. Now we're actually dealing with records and genetic bindings and like, it's extraordinary. It's so cool. And so I wanted to be available to as many people as possible. And that's why I create the group experiences because it's not, like not everybody can do it one time or, like work one-on-one with me. And so this is like something to make it, for everybody. So go and check it out because it's like, it's a very cool experience. And like I said, if you have, questions about like whether or not it's for you, start from the very beginning, from that first part. And then you'll be like, oh, I want more of this. Or like, I don't know if I'm here yet. Like, I don't know if this is for me. I'm going to keep this for later, right? Maybe next time, maybe next round of this course or something like that. So, cool. Would so love to know what you would see in me. Wendy, come into the ancient energy magic, and then I will be able to help. Everybody that's in there, I can scan, I can answer your questions. It'll be quick, right? It's not like a full reading, but I'll be able to tell you. So that's, if you want to know, does this apply to me? Come in there because I will teach you, like we're going to find out. You will end that day knowing, oh my gosh, this is what's going on with me, or oh my gosh, I've already resolved all these things. So it's like a diagnostic. Okay, cool. All right, thank you for saying that. Oh, yay, good. Yay! Okay, awesome. Oh, you guys are sharing all of your different signs with me. I love it. What's my moon sign? I'm a Sagittarius. That's my fire. Very fiery emotionally. Cool. Okay. Amazing. I think I answered all the questions. And we ended up having a really long live. So I'm going to jump off with a fire alarm in the middle so that this will actually download and we can keep it because I feel like we talked about really good stuff. So if you have questions about Break the Curse, comment, message me, go to the link in my bio, like get a hold of me, get a hold of the team. We start on the 13th. Okay, that's the full course. It starts on the 13th. I'm going to keep talking about it because I'm not going to shut up about it because this stuff is so important. And I want everyone that I can help inside that course. I haven't been this direct with you guys in a long time. So, like, if I can help you, let me help you be inside of that course one way or another, okay? And if you're debating whether or not it's for you, come to that first bonus part of it. That's $111 and it's on the 11th. And it's called Ancient Energy Magic, okay? And you will find out if any of the stuff applies to you and how to move forward, and then you can choose to continue in the course, okay? I love you all so much. All the things here at Moonbabes and the Light Tribe. That's the Instagram handle. Or you can go to my website, moonbabetribe.com, and then you'll find all the things on there, okay? And then for any of you that like to follow on the app or on YouTube, like the team, the Moonbabes team is now sharing shorts. So go and follow on YouTube because we're like going to share more and more content on YouTube. So it's fun. And it's like working again, the YouTube thing. So it's really good. And also on the app, we're making some updates and we're going to start pinging you and letting you know like when the podcast is out, when there's new YouTubes to watch, when there's new things that are coming out. So we're finally stepping up the whole thing. So it's really exciting. Yay! Okay. Good night, my loves. Love you all. Go shine bright. Be the light that you are. Do your work. Do not give up. This is not a time to give up. Show up, shine. You got this. I love you.